unit at least.
Oh, Haunting Scream, that's huge.
You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Eternal Tournament Series, Season 1, Week 5. We are in Round 3. We have an exciting matchup for you. I am Calimdir, also known as Gabe, and here in the booth with me is Sir Rhino. How's it going?
It's going great. We've had a bit of a long break there, but we're ready for more action, and we're going to be catching a match that's pretty similar to what we just saw in the last round. We've got Unearthly and Jez here in the 2-0 bracket. Unearthly bringing Huru Flyers, and on the other end, Jez is playing that Fire Just a Shadow mid-range that we just saw in the previous round. The exact same 90 down to the 1 of Whirling Duo in the main, 3 harsh rule in the side, all of that. So kind of the same matchup, but Unearthly not quite playing as greedy of what Hulkbuster was on, right? We do see the Sheltering Riders and Unseen Commando, Valkyrie Enforcer, Hammer of Might, Kothon, those protect. We've got some cards in common, but Amelia Nostrix, the top end of choice here for Unearthly on Huru Flyers.
Yeah, so Jez obviously on the same list that we've been seeing on ladder and we saw last round, whereas Unearthly, similar approach with the Aegis and evasive threats. However, a lot more mid-rangey, a lot more focus on the Huru archetype with the Amelias and the Nostrixes, and can grind a lot later.
Yeah, this style of deck is something that I know like Bruised by God had been brewing with and testing with and playing with in previous ETS formats and doing pretty well. And Unearthly, I imagine, like what he saw, especially with where the metagame's shaping up. We've seen how having all of these Aegis units can be nice, especially as these removal pile lists are shifting away from weapons and more towards just the hard spell removal. It can be really nice. So we'll see if Unearthly ends up faring better than Hulkbuster did in this matchup.
Yeah, as players start to get into the match here, something I've liked about this is the synergy between Nostrix and Silverwing Familiar. Typically, old, more aggressive Huru lists run Cloud Snake Saddle, which is
Garbage.
it can get the job done. It can get the job done because there's just not a lot of weapon options. And Silverwing Familiar is a card that is really only half of a card.
Yeah.
But with the addition of Unseen Commando and Nostrix, now you don't have to play Cloud Snake Saddle. So it's really cool to see how the archetype has developed.
Yeah, there's always been a few different versions of Huru Flyers as well. There were the non-Silverwing Familiar builds that struggled with how to attack aggro decks, and then they picked up Unseen Commando. But it just turns out that Silverwing Familiar plus weapons is a tale as old as time, and it can get the job done when the meta game's right. And Unearthly thinks it's right now. And Here we see this match underway.
And I don't know if the audience caught a glimpse of that, but in Unearthly's first hand, there was a Crest of Chaos. You heard me, folks. That is a Stone Scar Crest, 1 fire, 1 shadow influence, 0 fire or shadow cards in Unearthly's deck, just in there for good luck. He does have a couple on-color crests because, as we know, there's no Huru crest. But, just adding a little bit of chaos to Eternal here.
Yeah, style points matter. He had 1 Crest of Cunning, 1 Crest of Fury, 1 Crest of Vengeance. Those actually do have factions that touch Huru, but decided to go with that Crest of Chaos just for the one-offs, just because you can. It's not always about peak efficiency sometimes. The message here is I've got a bird with a Hammer of Might, and nothing else really matters.
Yeah, I mean, Autrek Runehammer really punishes this, but what else can you do? Play Shelterwing Rider, I suppose?
Yeah, you could, but
okay, that's
Unearthly,
exactly what you could do.
Yeah, he's calling out Jez, saying, you've got 2 Autrek Runehammers in your whole list. I'm willing to take these odds because it means I get to hit you for 4 and get a Warcry 3 here and keep pressuring and get ahead in this race.
Yeah, the Warcry 3 is a huge payoff because it means that whatever else he draws is going to be way out of range of any weapons that Jez has.
Jez did pick up a reduced cost Mocto that could come out soon, and 2 other Moctos to join him. So a lot of big flyers will be coming down on the battlefield shortly. And there we see Jez has a Crest of Chaos as his own. Turns out that does help him cast spells. Gets him that much closer to casting the Ikaria in hand as well. And Unearthly finds a Strategize. So these Nostrix aren't coming out just yet, but when they do, they're going to make their presence felt.
And Valkyrie Enforcer looking very good against a hand of triple Mocto and Ikaria. The other thing that I really have liked about the this deck, the bigger Huru decks, and the JPS list that we saw not too long ago in this field of Ikaria is how well these decks deal with Ikaria and Mocto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, now Unearthly has a 6/6 flyer in play. He had the option to play the other Valkyrie Enforcer so that when he plays the 6/6 Enforcer, he could hold up Protect. But it's better to just apply pressure here, right? Jez is down to 12 regardless. I guess he is going to go up to 14 by swinging with Alchemist. But he just wanted to make Jez have it. And if he didn't have it, he just wins on this turn. Now he's got the option of going Nostrix or just immediately protecting. Got to decide if he wants to kind of tap the brakes here a bit, set up for a little bit of a longer game, and that's what we see. Nostrix comes down and will buff up the shelf tilling. Right?
Yeah, and I like this play because even though Nostrix is exposed to removal, he just made a 5/10.
Yeah.
So even then, Nostrix is getting value. You can't hold back forever, and
that's lethal.
Yeah, that exactly.
Yeah, and that's the key here. This shows off what this deck can do, where it's got good evasive bodies that stick around through removal, and that's exactly what you want with Nostrix. Can pop the Aegis on Sheltering Rider, but it still eventually will become a 5/10 flyer again. It lives to attack again, so you've got to sort of answer these units twice up front, and if you don't, you're gonna get hit real hard, as we see just big birds taking that game over.
And Unearthly, actually a player that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, but for those who aren't, this deck to me seems very, very much in Unearthly style. Even though we've never seen him on a Huru deck, we've seen him on Rakano and on Argenport. It's still a very straightforward, mid-rangey two-faction deck with a very focused game plan, which is usually what he likes to play.
Yeah, this reminds me of when he would switch up his Rakano or Argenport decks to be more of a Oathbook style, where it's aggressive, but it's deliberate in its pressure. It's not coming out always being explosive, but instead looking for that consistent pressure where it's just, here's a threat. You have to answer it. If you don't, you're eventually going to lose. Over and over and over. Like the relentless pressure is, I think, the kind of aggression that Unearthly likes to have. Not necessarily assembling Voltron like you used to do with El Rakano.
Yeah. So going into sideboards, we have, as we saw, the FJS deck last game. We have the Harsh Rules, which look reasonable here. We have another Ikaria, which this is not a great matchup for Ikaria, but flyers are useful, but pretty slow. The biggest things, I think, are the Annihilate and the Valkyrie Enforcers, most likely, right?
Yeah, Annihilate hits a good amount of stuff. Your opponent is playing a milli, so that's a huge hit. Same with Unseen Command. Missing out on Sheltering Rider, Nostrix, and Kothon, but it's hitting enough that it's useful. Valkyrie Enforcer is huge. They're popping Aegis or taking things out of the sky. The Whirling Duo is intriguing as well, just for some counter pressure / life gain. Unearthly's got some real tools, though, in this sideboard that I'm interested to see what he opts to play. Could round out to 4 protection for Permafrost if he so chooses. Extra any number of backlashes could be great, especially if he sniffs out Harsh Rule coming in. But Bring Down, that's a card that is one of the big benefits to be getting it in certain metagames of playing Huru. This is a super efficient card when something like Mocto is really.
Yeah, if there's a target for Bring Down is the best removal in Eternal. It is 2 power, fast speed, silence, and kill. That is, I could not make a better removal spell if I tried.
Yeah, and the awesome thing is, even if it's not killing a flyer, the other things it's hitting could be lifesteal units, so it can help you win a race in that regard. But the thing is, it can also just kill Mokto. So we'll be interested to see if that card comes in, as we expect Jez's Valkyrie Enforcer numbers to come up, and we already know he's playing Mokto and Ikaria. So there are some targets, although not like you're going to have great ways of popping the Aegis on Ikaria to actually bring her down. I wouldn't be shocked if Unearthly finds a way to.
Yeah, going back to the Whirling Duos from Jez's side, Whirling Duo is always good against any uh, aggressive deck, and Unearthly's deck certainly applies a lot of pressure, but it does so in a slower, more deliberate manner, and there's just so many huge units on Unearthly's side that
Yeah.
I just think Whirling Duo is not going to do enough. But
Yeah,
it might be better than some of the dead cards that Jez might have in the deck.
I could buy that. Looks like this game is getting underway, so it'll be up to Jez to pull off what we saw in the last round, right? The reverse sweep from the Fire Justice Shadow deck. So see if that story repeats itself here, or if
And we can
Unearthly's a little
see
more prepared.
Unearthly brought in at least one backlash, so those
Mhm.
came in. We'll see if the harsh rules came out from Jez, because he might just need harsh rules to be able to compete in this matchup, but it's a huge risk.
Yeah, we saw Jez bring in harsh rules in the last matchup, and that was with even more Aegis units, I think, out of Bulkbuster. So I would
We
expect it to
saw. Yeah.
probably come in here too. But Unearthly's got a decent looking curve here. Gets to deploy a Kothon next turn, have Seek Power and Backlash up into Sheltering Rider, or just play a second Kothon. We'll see, as Jez has a sort of Ikaria available here, but goes with Valkyrie Enforcer.
Yeah, I also really like the call of Huru Flyers today in a field of FJS. I just think it's better than people gave it credit for.
Mhm.
So here comes another Kothon. Lets him get the Seek Power for this fourth power that he needs. Really wants to get a little more so that he can hold up this backlash while continuing to apply pressure, and so he can move towards activating these Kothons, because this hand looks like it's going to grind for a little while. This game's not going to end particularly quickly.
Yeah, Jez found a Crest of Vengeance for that turn, which crucially is his first Shadow Source, which means it unlocks his second Shadow Source, as he's got a Vara's Favor in hand as well. So he opts to go with the Vara's Favor play this turn, which means you're giving up a valuable Aegis pop tool, as we see a Sheltering Rider lurk in Unearthly's hand. But he wanted to guarantee having 5 power next turn along with double Shadow.
Yeah, and he also, the only other card he could have played was
Sort of Ikaria.
Sword of Ikaria. Okay, so he did have 3 power. All right, yeah, Sword of Ikaria I think would have been a reasonable option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have cleared out the Kothon. But the Kothon, it could have gotten bigger. It could have gotten a hammer on it, but then you have
And he's
Vanquish
got
anyways.
time.
Yeah, it's not like your opponent has I don't think Unearthly has Finest Hour anywhere in the night. Oh, they tapped out. I won't be able to use Sword on a future turn.
Yeah.
Valkyrie Enforcer comes down and silences Mako. We're going to be seeing probably a lot of that today, but here we see the Sword of Ikaria finally come out, deal with that Kothon before it can ultimate. But Unearthly's got control of the skies right now.
And I think next year we're going to see Nostrix come down and hit this Shelterwing Rider to make it a 10-10. And moving forward, that could be a huge problem for Jez.
It's possible that's where he goes, or Unearthly may opt to keep the pressure with this Sheltering Rider going and buff up something like Kothon, which currently is an irrelevant unit and could make it more relevant going forward.
True.
Interesting to see. Here we see Backlash. Okay, the Sheltering Rider draw makes me think Nostrix will buff Sheltering Rider.
Yeah.
As that will also buff the Rider in hand. I think if he was on the fence about it, that draw step is a huge tiebreaker.
Yeah. And yeah, here comes Nostrix. And now we've got 10-10 on the field, 10-10 in hand. Well, 5-10, but
yeah,
it'll have Aegis when it comes into play.
And crucially, Vanquish from Jez last turn means he has no way to clear a path for Ikaria now. Like this Nostrix doesn't get hit by Annihilate. This Sheltering Rider doesn't get hit by this Annihilate. and Jez is down to 4, and Unearthly's gets to follow it up with another 10-10 Aegis Flyer.
Yeah. The only Annihilate target was that Valkyrie Enforcer, which got traded away, and that's going to be the game for Unearthly. Jez just has no answer to this.
Yeah, even if Jez had, he would need exactly Torch, Harsh Rule to clear this board. And Jez does not have that. Instead, it's an Ikaria that comes down, and Jez will just hope
an
that
Ikaria that Unearthly can actually remove from the board this turn.
Yeah. So here we go. Unearthly avenges his Shelterwing brothers from the last round and takes down the FJS Menace in a convincing 2-0 fashion.
Well, that was an exciting match. Really cool to see what I think is a little bit of a rogue deck. We've seen Bruised by God playing something like this. We've seen other people playing similar decks, but it hasn't really been given much respect.
Right.
I don't think.
It's a deck that needed some work done.
Tuning,
I know, like early versions of it didn't play strategize, and I like criticized that. I was like, you're not playing because Huru does not have access to crests, so you kind of need to make up for that in other ways. And we saw Unearthly just play some all faction crests. But one of the big sources of frustration with this Huru deck in the past, especially when we were trying things like Pearlescent Drake, was its influence requirements. Even though it's a 2-faction deck, are really frustrating and hard to hit, especially without the crest, because Nostrix is 6 influence, triple justice, triple primal. Amelie is triple justice, Sheltering Rider, double justice, double primal. Enforcer and Unseen Commando were double justice. So being able to swap Amelie in for where Pearlescent Drake was sometimes taking up that slot, and now being able to really focus on the justice, and then now your only really heavy primal influence being Nostrix, makes it a little bit more manageable. But Nostrix is still can be really hard to cast on curve in this deck. That is a source of frustration. But when you do, you're just like winning laughably easily, as we just in these last 2 games, right? Unearthly happened to have the influence to cast Nostrix, but it's not always going to be the case. Your power base to cooperate with you.
Yeah, and I think taking out Wisdom of the Elders, which a lot of people are running, helps a lot as well, because that's double primal, and you just have so many 3-drops. That slot is so crowded. Strategize, I think, works quite a bit better there.
And with aggro seeing less and less play, that's going to go a long way with helping this deck. Like, you do have to play 4 main deck Vanquish, so that could cause some frustration. Sometimes your first play is like an Unseen Commando or Valkyrie Enforcer on turn 3, and when pressure plus torch is being applied to you, it can be really hard to stabilize. But it's a good spot right now for this.
We're searching right now for backup matches, so when we get one, we'll let you know.
It looks like we've got one, so we're going to be hopping in on Flash versus Autrek. I'm pronouncing. So we're going to have Flash as our in-game perspective. Let's see what's going down.
All right.
We've got, it's Time, Justice, Shadow stuff, aka Dark Combre, if you will, against Fire, Primal, Shadow, Scream. So, the Dark Combre deck has good sources of both silence and flyers, so can hold off the Scream deck. Has the right tools to match up against that, and Sandstorm Titan as well. As we see, Flash has 2 Parliaments, a Sandstorm Titan, a Protect, Valkyrie Enforcer, 2 Find the Ways in hand, has a lot of options here, and is imagine it's his turn, and he's just holding up the game until we jump. So thank you, Flash, and we'll see what he ends up doing here. And it looks like he's choosing to develop his power so that next turn he's guaranteed to play out like Sandstorm Titan and get to hold up.
Yeah, so this version of Scream is one of the ones I actually like a bit more. I don't love Grenadine Drone, but I do like the inclusion of, I think Quarry adds a lot to the deck, and I think the Madness Combust package adds a lot to the deck, and it helps with getting stuff into the void for your Torgovs. Northwind Herald, though, is very spicy.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool way to get tempo on the board. I don't know what game we're in this match, or if that's, I don't have the list up in front of me. Okay, Flash is up a game.
The biggest
So
thing I'm noticing is the lack of Direwood Beastcaller in this list.
yeah, that can be a hit or miss card, and I could see how in this current metagame it misses a bit more than it hits. Like getting 2/5/5s on the board after jumping through a lot of hoops sometimes doesn't mean anything. Whereas you have enough other threats going on and Fnatic drawing you cards, you'd rather just draw into real.
Yeah.
But here we see the Titan down, protects up, and this is kind of the nightmare for Scream. It's been having its fun in the sun against all these decks playing Slay and Relic Weapons and Vanquish. But when the Desert Marshals come out to play alongside Sandstorm Titan, that's where it can get real frustrating.
Yeah, this is definitely a matchup that I think is good for Cambrai. They're just so like Desert Marshal, just such a powerful card, like you said, versus Scream.
Yeah, with everybody on like Sabotage Fever right now, Desert Marshal just kind of laughs at it so hard. And here we see Caleb activation. Autrek did not like their hand, decided to draw a new one +1, and we'll figure out what to do going forward.
Yeah, Caleb is a super cool card that I'm glad people are trying to play with. I think that is also a very interesting choice in this Scream deck. It's because it doesn't discard things; it just puts them back into your deck. So it's this Scream deck is more of a tempo deck than anything else, than a true haunting Scream deck. So
Yeah,
like, when
it's
we
just
see
kind of
the
this good stuff card, right?
yeah, when we see the Feln version, it's more all in on the reanimation aspect, whereas this is more the reanimation is just a really tempo efficient thing to do.
Yeah, it's a mid-range deck that's hitting you from some interesting angles, right? We talked about how charge is good in this meta game right now, and Scream is a way to add charge to your deck. And here we see Haunting Scream being the play from Autrek here, getting Rindra out of the void, but there's still that Sandstorm Titan on the other end, and I guess he's hoping to have something like a Vera's Favor or something in Autrek.
Yeah, well, he's got Torch.
Okay, he's got a Torch. Gotcha.
Right.
But
So he's hoping that Caleb is the blockee. But with this Desert Marshal, now he's gonna have to Torch pre-combat to get Caleb to 6, and Rindra's just gonna be gain 5 life.
yeah, the timing on this Torch is tricky. It also doesn't super matter because of the protect, and now that Flash sees this pause, there's no way Sandstorm Titan's going in front of Caleb anyways. Yeah. The Rindra is going to die at the end of turn regardless. So it's important that you don't silence the Rindra here. And yeah, here we see Torch come out onto the Titan, which will get protected.
Yeah, I mean, notably, Rindra does get to keep charge and flying in the void, but we'll see if that matters at all.
Yeah, it will if Autrek has any dark returns in the future. And it is important that, that was a brutal sequence for Autrek, but it meant you got to protect in a Desert Marshal out of their hand. Those were cards that were going to be problematic going forward. Flash was just sitting there building up his stockpile of weapons, right? Just passing and leaving those up until he found power to do this, which is Mystic Ascendant is now down and found another Desert Marshal off of that and has access to 2 Owls off Parliament next turn.
Yeah, I think with just the Grenin drone sitting in hand, we're going to see a quick 2-0 from Flash here because Mystic Ascendant is just going to be too much value.
I'm surprised Grenin drones are even in post board.
Yep.
Yeah, like game 2, you need high impact threats against little 1/1s. Yeah, it's nice to try and get under it, but this Scream deck's not fast enough to actually leverage that pressure from the.
And I like this attack from Flash because I'm definitely not opposed to just playing both Great Parliaments this turn. We know Autrek's deck doesn't have any sweepers, so even if this Sandstorm Titan just trades for Torgov, these Parliaments are just going to clean up the game in 2 turns.
Yep, and now your Valkyrie Enforcer also gets to take to the skies, so this is a huge amount of pressure. Autrek basically has to like dark return a Rindra, and even if he does that, Flash's hand is Valkyrie Enforcer, Desert Marshal.
Yeah,
like he's not too worried about a flying 6/6 Rindra from Autrek, but instead, all that he's going to see is a not flying 6/6 Rindra and those Grenin drones that you mentioned.
Yep. And looks like there's no answer here. Rindra not going to be able to get any value because he can just, Flash can just not attack with his Mystic Ascendant.
Yeah, and I think we'll see Flash play a power first, get one extra card before
Yeah.
deciding exactly how to attack with a protect as the draw step to pair with the sabotage. I just don't see any way Autrek can work out of this. He does have an Aegis on the face, which is why we aren't seeing the sabotage come out, for those that are wondering. Flash has recognized that obstacle. I doubt he wants to use protect on Autrek's face just to use.
Yeah, not when you're in such a secure position.
Yeah. We'll see one Enforcer come out, the other one get held on to. He's got plenty of attacks in the sky, has the Desert Marshal plus protect up, and just has to focus on surviving this attack.
Which I think he can do very easily.
Oh, yeah. It's even if Autrek was somehow playing things like Obliterate
or even Flame Blast.
Protect. Yeah. So we'll just see block max amount of damage without, you could have chump blocked the Caleb there. It doesn't matter if you lose an Enforcer, but
you know what he can't play around? Decimate.
That is true. And here we see a Rindra come down, a Torch come out. Sure, protect the Torch. Why not?
And it's gonna pass back over to Flash, and we're gonna see him swing in for lethal in the air.
Then we see, swing in for lethal from Flash, and that'll take it 2-0 for Flash. So not too shocking. Like Combre style decks generally have the advantage over Cream decks, but still a good showing from Autrek. And I'm not sure where either of those players are in this. That was a 2-0.
Yeah, and not only is it a matchup that with Sandstorm Titans and 8 silences favors the Comrade deck, he also just drew a ton of silence effects that game.
Yeah. The deck comes packing with 8 in the main generally. And all right, it looks like those players were both 1-1. So Flash is 2-1, and Autrek goes down to the 1-2. So that's a bit of a stretch to hit the top 8 for Autrek, but there's still an outside chance. All right, I'm getting word we might be jumping into another backup here. All right.
Yeah, so we're gonna jump into game 3 of another match here. We'll get you word on that.
Matches for the price of 1, huh?
Yep.
So okay, so this is currently game 2. We're in on Serb right now against Tubehunter. And Serb is on the ropes here at 4 health to 39. Has a handful of cards. Looks like had some influence issues as 2 uncastable Wisdom of the Elders are in hand with only 1 primal influence and a whole lot of frogs that can't be vanquished. Or you can slay one of them. And I guess you're going to slay the Alchemist and hope to gain some life before it comes back and has its revenge. And it comes back right away, and that will be lethal. Although you can protect it, so it's not lethal yet. I don't know what out Serb has in this game, but I haven't pulled up his deck list just yet. Maybe he's packing. It's not a stretch to say he's got some Lightning Storms in the deck, maybe. That would be able to clean up this board. Breast of Cunning unlocks a Wisdom of the Elders and lets him scout. But instead he scoops it up. So I guess there's no Lightning Storms in the deck if he scoops. That was still an out to scout, draw, and Lightning Storm.
Yeah. So this deck that Serb is on is more of the. Oh wow. Okay. I was thinking it was the JPS list that we saw last or 2 weeks ago, but no, this is a really interesting list with Madness in it.
Yeah, it has a Madness Devour package. It's a Justice Primal Shadow control list. And yeah, I know we saw Justice Primal Shadow controls before, but the top end was what? Are you thinking the versions with Nostrix, like that kind of thing? The Nostrix.
This is more like a revenge control list.
Yeah, it's got Stone Powder Alchemist, Inquisitor Mokdo, and Black Sky Harbinger as its units. So you can just devour your revenge units and get some value out of that. But you also have Madness Does Madness combine with anything other than Devour?
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about.
I guess you can still Madness, like if you're expecting tons of revenge units, you just Madness their revenge units, kill it while it's on your side of the board, and you get it. So
Yeah.
you can use it as like a weird pseudo silence when you pair it with other removal. But other than that, it's a little odd that you see it as a 4 of in the main deck. Pretty extreme. Then
On the other side,
the other side was Tubehunter.
who's playing deck name? They're playing also JPS.
Yeah, but this is JPS Scream.
Scream. Okay, which is the list that we've been seeing. A couple people brought this. We actually had a number of people bring this. I can actually pull it up right now. Yeah, 9 people I think brought this list.
Yeah, everybody's got Mokto fever right now, and while Mokto and Alchemist don't really combine that well with Vara, they're not usually around to get brought back, and even if they
Yeah.
do, they're not like huge value targets. You still have your Rindra and Fnatic with Haunting Scream package, and Vara is just this big value unit that does value things, and that's a decent spot to be in this metagame.
Yeah, I suppose the idea behind this deck is that the Scream deck, the traditional Felon Scream decks that we've seen, the big Scream decks, usually when they lose, it's because they just don't have enough time to put their pieces together. And so the addition of Harsh Rule maybe
Yeah.
makes your matchups a bit better. But at that point, it might be better just to go for a more controlling route if you're going to
Yeah.
be playing Varas.
Yeah, this is where you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. But we've seen Harsh Rule and Vara get mixed up before, so not too crazy to see it here. But let's
think we
see
have
what's
them
going down in
in
this
the
match.
final match here.
Got here on Dean, but I'm gonna hop in on Serb.
And a Rain of Frogs has been cast
Oh baby,
by
yeah.
Tubehunter.
Yeah, we saw Rain of Frogs do a lot of work in the last game, except it was from out of Serb, and the frogs killed him.
I kind of okay. So frogs have been cast on both ends. I'm not sure what has been frogged is the problem.
Yeah, we'll get our top men on that, but we'll figure it out as now.
And more frogs. This is gonna be a frog on frog battle royale here.
Yeah, 2 Rain of Frogs have been cast out of Tubehunter. We know one of them hit Black Sky Harbinger, which is pretty good in the Frog Mirror. The only other targets Serb has to get, well, I guess any spell or unit could get frog. We can't. Frogs were once.
Can tell you it wasn't a devastating setback.
And it also wasn't Harsh Rule. Do you think it was Mokto? Can we make that guess that he got the ultimate hit and got a Mokto?
That would be pretty good.
Yeah, we don't know. There's no way to check. We'll figure it out through process of elimination eventually.
Mokto normally has to die before it gets Destiny. Now you're just giving it Destiny for free.
Uh-huh. All right, Rindra's a play for Tubehunter, and he even has Haunting Scream to back it up, a Mokto of his own in hand, and a Stone Powder Alchemist. So Tubehunter still got plenty of threats to go around.
Serb winning the frog game, though, for sure.
Yeah. Who knows if that's the game you really need to win, though.
I'm surprised not to see the Vanquish come down, but I suppose he's expecting a Protect or
something. With the Rain of Frogs being cast, I imagine Serb saw the Haunting Scream in Hunter's hand. So he just knows if he vanquishes it, it'll just get screamed back, and he doesn't happen.
Yeah, but it only screams back for one turn.
Yeah, no, I can agree. I'm just trying to find his reasoning to not do it.
He may also have seen Mokto. I'm not sure what he... No, he would have hit Mokto if he saw it.
Yeah, I doubt that Rain of Frogs saw Mokto and he chose something else over that.
And there's Madness.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about now. If this Mokto comes down, you Madness vanquish it. The spicy tech, man.
Yeah. Or not. Or not. Hey, okay, whatever. One more power and he can.
Well, again, he doesn't.
Harsh Rule.
Yeah, Serb doesn't know about the Mokto. That's an important thing to highlight. So Man, but he could have gone if he had saved the Vanquish. He could have Madness the Mokdo, then protected his own Mokdo and vanquished it. So when it came back with Destiny, it still had the Aegis.
Oh my goodness! And
Instead, he'll
feeding
just draw
times.
feeding time.
Okay. But does
I
he really want a feeding time, or does he want a Madness Harshfall? That's the question.
well, you don't know when you're getting the 8th power, and
He
all right,
believes.
greed.
He believes.
Going with the greed. I don't know. As a control player in this spot, I would just
Ooh.
use the feeding time because now Tubehunter found Rhino frogs.
Yeah, well, he's got Protect.
That's true. So I guess you don't care about the Rhino frogs. Protect is so busted.
Protect is a decent card.
So Tubehunter sees the pause there. Does that mean you just you still have to Rhino frogs?
Yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do with it? You're not gonna wait for them to Madness Harshfall. That'd be ridiculous.
Wanted poster. All right, maybe now you'll use feeding time.
Oh my! No! You wanted poster,
Don't
then you
have-
wait another turn.
Don't have 8 power, man. You can't be waiting around forever, especially a 3 faction deck. You don't even know if you're gonna draw power. Yeah. Serb had 1 turn, decided he could only be greedy for so long.
I think he should have won a poster feeding time in the Stone Batter Alchemist.
Crucially now, Tubehunter has a pig that he can hunt.
Yeah, that is true. And another strategize. Chaining these strategize from Tubehunter is really saving this draw for him because he was out of gas.
Yeah, I think we'll see one of these power cards get bottom, whether it's Seek or Seat doesn't really. Brindra is the other notable draw from this strategy. Tubehunter will have the option of deploying that or finally using the Haunting Scream here. Kind of clear.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really minor decision. He goes for the Seek power for the potential thinning.
Sure.
If there's an argument for the Seat because he could potentially just play it that turn if he hadn't played a power.
Serb finally finds an 8th power, but it is depleted as was foretold. But we'll now just use Harsh Rule, get the wanted poster trigger, and then
Sabotage looks pretty good here.
Yeah, you know at least you're hitting a Haunting Scream. Second Sabotage as a draw ain't a bad spot to be either.
Yeah, well, Sabotage is a lot worse when your opponent's playing off the top of their deck.
Yeah.
But with the Nightfall triggers, maybe it'll get some value.
Yeah, there is an argument to just Sabotage a Seek power there, honestly. Because it might not get any better. But as a control deck, sometimes spells in your opponent's hand get stranded.
Oh.
Also, these Madness against
Gorgon
Fanatic. Yeah,
Woo!
that's disgusting. That's completely.
I forgot about the time I tried to play Scream when Collis was still a deck.
Yeah, or Grenadins. When I was playing Grenadins against the Scream deck, your one shot at winning that matchup was by them playing out Fanatics and you madnessing them. Yep. That was such a huge boon. But all right, here we see.
Here it is.
Now this isn't really going to work because you have a feeding time. But it's still
he has the pig now.
Yeah, it's a 5. Madness was a 5 damage burn spell there, and with 2 Madness in hand, I think that's fine.
Did he bottom that?
Yeah, he bottomed that wanted poster.
Because he just doesn't have a removal spell.
There's the Gorgon Fanatic, but crucially, Tubehunter got a Destiny Frog to get in the way of the Madness Fanatic. Are we going to see a Mad Frog in this game?
A traitorous frog?
Mad Frogs!
That's value right there.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And Devour gets to go on this frog.
Oh my gosh.
Absolute massacre.
The value train just keeps on
rolling.
No! He forgot. He was like, Wisdom Elder, that draws 2 cards. Devour? That I don't know what that does.
Yeah, I don't know. You've already used 3 Madness this game. I think you're supposed to devour the frog there instead of Wisdom.
You're definitely supposed to devour the frog. I think he just forgot that there's so many times when it doesn't do things in this deck.
Yeah.
But Wisdom Elder is still pretty good.
I think Serb just has a heart. He can't bring himself to devour
to devour the frog that turn to his side like that.
Maybe he'll devour his own frogs. Who knows?
Yeah, not the kind-hearted frogs of Tubehunter.
Yep. And now we're just doing Stone Powder Alchemist pressure. One of these alchemists have already had has had their revenge, but we've got two that have not. So
Yep.
and 200
And
just scoops
even
it.
wow, even with the devastating setback in hand, he just decides
It's a
too
little
much.
premature, but
Yeah.
like because if he draws a scream off the top, isn't he just going to gain a ton of life off of Rindra and be okay?
Yeah.
That seemed
Yeah, I'm not
really
sure
early
about
to
that.
me.
But alas, that is going to be 2
Maybe
and
they're
1.
round one to time or something.
Yeah, perhaps. But yeah, that should be 2-1 for Serb there.
Yeah, and wow, we got 3 matches in this round. That was a whole lot of eternal action, a lot of fun games going on. Frog v frog action to bring it in there. This has been a fun day so far, and we've still got a whole lot of rounds still to come.
Yeah, well, only round 3 of do we have 6 or 7 rounds today? We have a 7-rounder coming at you today. So we're going to cut to a break, maybe get you some VODs in there, and we'll catch you back in round 4.